everybody. Welcome to the Time Wealthy Advantage. Somebody had asked me the other day, don't you have a name for your show? I was like, oh, I'm just going to call it the show. I'm going to take it that seriously. But anyway, it is good to see you all. Thank you for stopping in today. This show is for you, the small business owner, the family business owner, the entrepreneur who is trying to create a time wealthy advantage, which is about creating control over your calendar, right? And that's not about time management. It's about energy management. It's about making sure that you are in alignment with your vision for the future in terms of where is it that you want to go. So this show is for you, specifically for those individuals. So working on a personal vision. It was interesting. I had a call from a guy that I had worked with several years ago when I was under the Landlord Coach banner. And we got talking a little bit about his personal vision, and he stopped and I could hear there was like some emotion in his voice. And I was thinking, like, what's going on, man? Are you okay? And he's like, man, you have no understanding of how like good I am right now. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit of a story that he shared with me. And when he originally started, he set out to create a personal vision. He kind of did it begrudgingly because he was like, man, I hired this coach. I want this coach to help me with my business. Man, I'm going to work on that squishy personal vision stuff at some point in the future. Yeah, I see that there's a value in it, but I really don't care that much right now. Like, let me make my $100,000 a month, and then I'll worry about that personal vision stuff. Well, he kept getting stalled, and he kept getting stalled. And it was interesting because I would ask him about his personal vision, but I really wouldn't press him on it, knowing full well he really hadn't done the work. And finally, I just got to a point where I said, hey, man, look, I'm going to be honest with you. My coaching, you know it, how it works. I always begin with the end in mind. You've never really conveyed to me your personal vision, and you're asking me to make judgments based on a direction that I don't know where you're wanting to go. So, specifically in your life, I kind of get it in your business, but we're getting to a point where we're kind of at the crossroads of how I answer that question is going to be really contingent upon how you answer the personal vision question. Specifically, where is it that you want to go? Well, he was one of these types of guys that, well, I just want to keep my options open. I don't want to pigeonhole myself into, I just want to do whatever it is that I want to do at any particular time. I said, okay, so you want to jump naked out of an airplane holding a shark? And he's like, well, no, that's weird. I said, okay, so now we can eliminate one thing out of the universe of possibilities of the things that you don't want. So he kind of got the hint, and he started working on this. So he went out and he bought a really nice binder. It's a paper tablet, and because he's a more kinesthetic guy, I said, go get yourself a nice pen. So he got himself a nice pen, and he's working in this very nice journal that he bought for himself. So he grabs the pen, he sits down in this nice comfy leather chair that he has, clicks open the pen, he stares out the window, and he just starts to think. And he really couldn't think of much at the time, and he had some soft jazz music playing in the background, and he's looking out and he sees the birds flying around. There's a couple of cardinals that are in his yard that he was watching, and it starts to come to him, and he starts to write. And he can feel the pen hitting the paper, and for him as a kinesthetic learner, he's the type of learner that has to be really involved in that. So he's got his cup of coffee sitting there, and he's sipping his coffee. He puts his coffee back down on the stand that's next to him, and he continues to write. And he just starts writing, and almost like he starts out with one thing, like he wanted a bicycle, and he didn't even really get that detailed in the bicycle. And then he wrote down a black bicycle, and then he's like, well, it's a mountain bike. And then he just started, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, he wrote down that he wanted a pair of kayaks. And none of this stuff was really overly expensive. I mean, the guy made really good money, but he couldn't really allow himself to dream. So now that he's kind of allowed himself to dream a little bit, he put down, he wanted a bicycle, he wanted a hot tub, he wanted a couple of kayaks for him and his children to go out and enjoy. And he wrote down a bunch of stuff. So it was a really good exercise for him, just in the simple fact that it allowed himself to dream a little bit. And of course, he closed the journal, and it was a really nice journal. It was a nice leather journal, and it had a design on the front of it. And he put it down, and it was almost like ashamed to like put it somewhere where someone could read it. But he put it somewhere, tucked it in his desk, and he put his pen away, got up from his leather chair, finished his coffee that day, and then later on he called me. And it was interesting because that very day he called me. He says, "Hey, I did your stupid exercise," he said, laughing, but he knew that it was important to do. And over the next couple of days, it was interesting because he literally saw bicycles, specifically black bicycles and kayaks and hot tubs everywhere. What he had done, in effect, was he activated a particular part of his brain called the reticular activating system. And we've all experienced this, right? Like if someone starts to talk to you about little Yorkie dogs, and all of a sudden you see Yorkie dogs everywhere, right? If your friend goes out and buys a blue car, and all of a sudden you see that exact make and model blue car everywhere, right? You see it on every corner, right? That's reticular activating. That's the reticular activation system at work. So he had done this in terms of creating this for his personal vision, and now he starts seeing these things everywhere. He sees opportunities to get these bikes everywhere. He sees opportunities to get these hot tubs everywhere and these kayaks. In fact, he did buy a set of kayaks within a couple of weeks. He actually saw them on Facebook after seeing literally dozens of them. He saw these two that were identical. This couple was not going to use them anymore, and he decided to go out and buy them at a really cheap price with the oars, the paddles, even threw in a couple of life vests for him. So he's pretty happy. It was interesting that he came to realize that, okay, so now I can do this with my goals. Maybe I can do this and continue on with this. So he did. He would follow a very similar ritual. He did this about once a week. I'm giving him a little bit of credit here, where he would sit down again in his big leather comfy chair, and he would sit there with his coffee, and again, he would play some music in the background with no voices. Just usually he was a fan of jazz, so he would listen to jazz music and looking out this big picture window that he had in this kind of semi-private office library thing that he had in his house. And he could just sit out and watch the day, watch the animals, watch the birds fly around and land and sing and doing all the things that they're doing outside of his big picture glass window. And he would sit there and he would open his leather journal. After he would feel the design on it, he would open it up and he would take out his pen and he would put his pen to paper, and he could feel the ink as he was pulling it across the paper. And he would write and he would just let stuff just spill out onto those pages. Nothing really. It wasn't super eloquent, just thoughts of things that he might want for his personal vision. And as he would continue on in writing these things, he would finally came to realize that, well, what if I just started, maybe putting some experiences down? Maybe if I started putting some other things down, not just things, but maybe some things that I would want to experience, like maybe trips that I would want to think. And he would even go beyond that and say, what about not just experiences, but states of being, right? We're human beings, right? So what would that be? That would be a great chef. Maybe he would want to be a pilot. Maybe he would want to do other things. Maybe he wanted to become a scuba diver, right? So all these different states of being that he started writing down. And he went through this exercise quite a few different times. And it was interesting, this conversation that I ended up having with him, where he sounded a bit emotional. He said, it's really interesting that I would go through this and do this silly little exercise that you had me doing. And I came to realize that for me, I started transcending just the stuff that I wanted, the things, and the rather than just these little individual goals of getting a kayak, getting a bike, getting a hot tub, which coincidentally he never did get the hot tub because it was just something he thought he wanted. He really didn't want it that much. He didn't really want to have to maintain it. He didn't want to have to mess with it, right? He was just totally content with having one that he had access to, not necessarily one that he wanted in his backyard. So again, he didn't really need the thing or want the thing. He just wanted access to the thing. So in his case, what he started to recognize is that having this well-defined vision about what he was, what he actually wanted in terms of states of being, and just in terms of what he wanted his life to look like, not necessarily the things he wanted to have, all of a sudden he started getting an overall sense of direction for what he wanted his life to look like. And that is why, that is at the essence of why I coach what I coach in terms of being a vision focused coach. And if you look at the top left over here, you can kind of see the little logo. It's called a compass rose. A lot of people think it's a star, but if you look at the actual logo, it's got a little N, and it shows that it's a compass rose. And the compass rose has come to mean a lot for me in and throughout my life. And for some reasons I'm not going to share right now, but the compass has always meant something to me in terms of actually providing direction. And actually, when I was in the Marine Corps, this compass rose was in the middle of our navigator wings. So I was a navigator in the Marine Corps, and there was only about 150 navigators in the entire Marine Corps. There was at the time 300,000 Marines, and there was only about 150 that rated to wear the navigator wings. Very, very unusual wings when it comes to Marine navigators. So the compass rose, again for a compass as a navigator, that was everything. It showed everything. It meant everything for us in terms of providing direction. And in Strategic Boardroom, as I was naturally thinking about creating a logo, the compass rose was one of the things that came pretty quickly. So that's what was really surprising about creating a vision. And that when you keep working at it, all of a sudden it just doesn't become this document like, well, these are the things that I want. I want this house that curves with the earth, and I want to have this boat that it's enviable by my neighbors, and I want to have all this crap. I'm not suggesting that stuff isn't, that stuff is stuff to be avoided. I'm not judging that at all. If you want cool stuff, that's cool. I have plenty of cool stuff. I'm a gun guy. I like my cool guns, right? But beyond that, it's your vision starts giving you a sense of direction in terms of where it is that you want to go. And what's really cool, and what he was sharing with me, is he now has that sense of direction that when he starts to wander off in too much of a direction that he knows he shouldn't be going in, he actually catches himself pretty quickly. He's able to say, you know what? I'm heading in a direction that I don't necessarily want to go. I don't necessarily need to be sitting in my comfy leather chair and reading back through my vision going, this isn't where I should be going. He knows exactly where he should be heading and when he's off course. And that's a pretty cool thing. So I hope you found this helpful. And I just want to encourage you that if you are one of those individuals that's working on a vision and you are trying to get that stuff figured out, keep working at it. Keep working it through. And if you have not worked that through, and that is not something that you have necessarily tried, I want to encourage you. I'm going to put a link in the description field here, and you can it's basically it's going to allow you to get crystal clear with your business vision, and it's a downloadable worksheets. Again, you get free worksheets to get some clarity and purpose and direction, and it's going to help you both in your business and personal life. So again, you can download the free step-by-step worksheets. Again, you'll have to enter in your email address, but that will be delivered to your email address. And yes, you will be subscribed to my email stuff, but you can always unsubscribe. You don't feel like you have to stay plugged into that if you don't want to. All right, everybody, that's all I have for today. You guys have a great day, and of course, we'll see you next time.